Oh my goodness. I'm so grateful to know all these amazing people. And not only that, to have known them for so long. But you know what? With new eras, we make new friends. And I'm really, really excited to introduce you to Agustin Cortez, who is a co founder and program manager of Learn.io, where he is working to build an online learning experience for thousands of new learners in Web3 and will share his insights on the future of education. Welcome, Augustine. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm a little more awake than I thought I would be, and I'm sorry. I'm going to just shut up and let you go because I don't want you to lose more time, and it will cut us off at the top of the hour. So let's jump into it. I just want to say, when I heard about what he was doing, I was so excited. I'm like, we've got to get Augustine up in a prominent spot to share this story. So please take it away, my.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I need visual rhetoric. Okay. Can you see my screen? Here we are. Actually, okay. Yes, there we are. So I'm going to be talking about a future of education with Web3, and the goal is about creating an internet learner's identity. The company I'm building is Learn.io. We call it Learnio. And a little bit about myself. I'm Augustine. I'm the co-founder and CEO. I'm an internet autodidact. If you're not familiar with what the word means, it's just a fancy way to say self-taught. And the mission that we're on is to create validation for the self-taught. Some personal pain point experiences I had when I was applying to develop my career, earn roles, and get my career essentially off the ground was, since I was self-taught, I had no form of validation, and I had the competency and the knowledge through teaching myself on the internet. However, there was no form to represent that. So this is what we're going to be building on and be the main uh, com- conversation point for the subject. And I've been an EdTech founder for the past 2.5 years. Education is something very, very important to me. I take it to the philosophical and theological level. And I believe that education itself is the social fabric for society itself. So the better education or opportunities around the space, the more society will progress. So one of the biggest holes and problems that we experience today is that an education system for the web is non-existent. When you learn something online, well, that's it. There's no form of creating pedigree or certification for information you accumulate on yourself. Legacy institutions have created the social consensus of giving verification of education through degrees or pedigree, but there isn't something on the internet. And I want to focus on siloed learning, which is how learning happens in Web 2. So here we have a block made up by companies, and the figure represents the learner. So let's say that the learner comes to Coursera. Okay, they do their learning activity here, but all the data stays inside of Coursera. And the same thing on Udemy, and same thing on LinkedIn Learning and edX. So this siloed form of learning is preventing sovereignty for the learner to take the data and have ownership for the act of learning itself. Sure, you can download a PDF, but what really matters is a collective interface and data experience for the learner to have some form of validation. So this is where Web3 comes in, and where we got very excited to be building around the future. So with Web3, you are allowed to create an internet learner's identity. So with this, we want to create essentially proof of education, leveraging wallets and learning activities. So going back with the example that each block represents a company, and the check mark will represent some form of certificate, degree, or just learning activity in itself. If we go back to the siloed aspect, the platforms keep the data, and the learning activity that happens stays inside the platform. But with Web3, the learning activity ends up coming to the user's wallet. And these are known as dApps, a decentralized app, which is essentially like a website, but they use the blockchain. And then the blockchain connects to the user's wallet. And since the blockchain is open, it allows for users to have sovereignty. So if this is the new Udemy, this is the new Coursera, this is the new LinkedIn Learning, the new Udacity, the new YouTube, all the learning activity that they provide can actually be funneled to the internet user's wallet. And think about it like a passport, where when you travel to a new country, you get that stamp, and that stamp represents proof of the travel. Well, all these activities can be stamps and data points to the user's wallet. Well, this leads to the education itself. I'm gonna go really quickly on this protocol that we want to create. But basically, we have three core focuses. We have proof of knowledge, which is really understanding theory. And the way to validate this would be through an entity. If you're not familiar with what an entity is, it's just like an NFT, but it's non-transferable. So say you pass a test, an assessment, and you passed it, you will get an entity. And the benefit of it being non-transferable is that you should be the sole owner. You shouldn't be able to sell it. You should be able to flip it. Nobody should be able to buy it off you, and it'll be stuck to your wallet. So this is on the knowledge, where we really focus on theory and conceptual understandings. To validate that, it would be an entity. So this check mark would be the entity in itself. On to the next point of proof of skill. This is the exercise of knowledge, and it's really about implementing skill, where it's moving away from the conceptual side and moving towards true empiricism. And the same process is that if you pass the proof of skill assessment, quiz, or project, you will receive an NTT. And the last part is a little bit more social. It's a subjective area, but it focuses on a social consensus on agreement and trust. So the more participants that join the network, they give validity to the entities. And what this does is it collectively creates the concept of education. We have theory, skill, and trust. So if we implement this on blockchain, then this could be the consensus mechanism on what it means to be educated on the web. So with that framework, if all these are entities for proof of skill, proof of knowledge, and people trust these entities carry validity, a user can now represent and showcase their wallet, and employers, social dynamics will be like, okay, this person is actually knowledgeable, and they can't buy these entities. They can't fabricate some false verification. So this will create the premise of proof of education on the web, and that's how blockchain and Web3 is going to be the solution. So this is what we're building on Learnio. We call it Learnio, but it's learn with .io, learn with an I. And we're going to be launching our MVP within the next couple months, really focusing on connecting with investors, technical aspects to get the technology up off the ground, and also people who are just interested in education, because education is philosophical. We need to understand all the possible angles and variables to address this system. So proof of education will be validated on the web. This is exactly what we're building. If anyone wants to connect, I would be more than happy to chat further. On Twitter, I am at Tintology, and that's my presentation. So I think we're good on time, but yeah, Chris, thank you for the opportunity as well.
Augustine, you're fantastic on time, and I really appreciate that you're able to get such a complex story told so simply. There's so much more beyond this, as I've discussed with Augustine separately. For the last 10 years, I've been working on online reputation system. It really fills in that last gap. In fact, we used to call it the net trust score. How much do we trust somebody to be able to do something? Borrowing the definition of trust from a dear friend, Thomas Vander Waal, who coined the phrase folksonomy, for those of you who remember tagging back in the day. Trust is social comfort and social confidence. I feel comfortable with this person. I've seen this stuff before. I'm confident they're able to do this. And so that's what I really love about what you're looking at with proof of knowledge and proof of skill, is that it really speaks to both of those. And then when you throw in that last component, it really takes it over the top. So my question to you right now is, what will it take to deliver on this vision? Because this is a very early idea still, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, so this is the core components. There's the technical build out, which I believe will probably be more of the simpler process. I think really on creating the system and open sourcing it to get that validity and legitimacy, exactly that social comfort that this protocol, this proof of education works. And since education is multifaceted, dimensional, it's getting that collective agreement, like, okay, that works. And this is going to take world effort from educators, learners, adopting the system, employers. So it's really going to take social infrastructure to be rebooted, and that's going to be power to the people. That's probably going to be the most challenging aspect, though.
Yeah, and of course, one of the things that it's going to take, and all of us is going to take, is some form of critical mass, a collective consciousness to accept it as part of the daily. But what it takes in the beginning is a few people. And one of the things that Augustine and myself have been talking about, and we still have to work out, is that there should likely be an open standard underlying a lot of this. And so following in what we did with Creative Commons earlier with Web 2.1 and supporting them, and with some of these other interesting ideas that I have, I'm very hopeful that we're going to be able to support and advance Learn.io's project and help him bring together a broader coalition of people to co-develop that standard and co-design it. And that's going to be a really big, important part of it. But it also requires Augustine to build a team. So if you're looking to actually support this, or if you have other ideas, Augustine's going to be hosting a session during the Unconference tomorrow. I'm sorry, I don't recall the time. Did we set up a time for you in advance, or did we not?
I do not believe so, but we'll just go back and forth from there.
It'll be on the schedule, and we will promote it. I will promote it more directly from my Twitter feed. That's at Chris Hewer, and we'll definitely get some more eyes on it. I'm going to be there because I really want to talk about this more, and I want to find others who are interested in it. And more than ever, we're going to have people who are leaving institutions, or particularly now that you don't even visit the campus, that we're going to have people learning at home online. And so this is a real important need for society itself if we're to make a more inclusive society and economy. So really, really grateful for you sharing with us, Augustine, and look forward to talking to you more tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Great pleasure.